Hey folks, welcome back to Viz Vibe. I'm Vivian Camille. I run a lot, eat a lot, and have a lot of fun in the process. Today, we are talking about 50K training. Previously, I made a video on marathon training and building your base for the 50K and on. That was phase 1 of Mission Race Ready. This is now phase 2. The main difference in marathon training and 50K training is the training plan itself. So this is the training plan I am using from this book right here. And as you can see, in a normal marathon training plan, you'd be doing about 5 miles every day of the week. But here you can see throughout the week, you'll be doing anywhere between 6 to 10 miles. And then on the weekends, that's where you're gonna find the main difference. Instead of doing 1 long run, you're gonna be doing 2 long runs. The main point in that is that you're gonna get used to running on tired legs and used to running for a long amount of time. However, when it comes to the race, you'd think that 6 extra miles really isn't going to make or break you or make much of a difference, but you have to keep in mind that race day is going to be a lot different than marathon race day. You're going to be on the trails. You're probably going to have some technical terrain. You will most likely have elevation gain and loss. And so all those things are going to contribute to a completely different race experience from, say, a road marathon. That being said, today I'm going to be our example. That way you have another idea of what somebody out there is doing. These are my tips and tricks that have made me feel confident and ready for the race that I'll be doing come November. Let's hop to it. Tip number 1, personalize your plan. For me, I do my long runs on Thursdays and Fridays instead of Saturdays and Sundays like most people. The main reason to have a training plan is so you're improving gradually. You're building a stronger base. You're becoming a stronger human and a better runner in general. If you get to the end of the week, a 66-mile week, and you are just whooped, you have no energy, and you're looking at this training plan thinking, holy smokes, I only have 1 day off, and then I've got to start it all over again, you may want to lay off on the mileage. You don't want to be just burnt out. So there are tons of training plans online. I suggest just find one, use it for an outline, and then tailor it to your schedule and what you're going to be doing. If you have a lot of stress in your life, you're going to need to account for that stress. I'm a flight attendant, I'm on my feet all day when I'm at work, and so that needs to be factored into the mileage that I'm doing. And that just comes with kind of listening to your body and how you feel throughout the week or at the end of the week. I like the training plan I've chosen because it is lower mileage relative to some other ones. For my lifestyle, I have to be able to get in the miles, and sometimes I have to be able to spread those miles out throughout the week instead of getting in those long runs, which isn't ideal, but getting in the mileage is much better than not. Tip number 2 is tailor your training plan to your race. Tailoring your training to the race is essential. 50Ks are pretty much every single weekend out there, and they are very different depending on which one you're gonna pick. If you're gonna do one in Texas, it's probably gonna be a little bit flatter and the terrain might be hard-packed dirt, so it may be very similar to a road marathon. However, if you choose one in Utah, there may be a lot of elevation gain and loss with also some really difficult terrain that you're gonna be dealing with. That being said, whatever race you decide to choose for your 50K, make sure you're getting about 50% of the time on your feet on that race-specific terrain. For example, I'll be doing the Franklin Mountain 50K in November. That course is very rocky, and there's about 8,000 feet of elevation gain and then 8,000 feet loss. So I've been looking for trails that have a lot of big, loose rocks that are very unstable, hard to run on, and then I've also been getting in as much vertical gain as I possibly can around the Tucson area. On my overnights, when I'm out flying around the country, I don't have access to a trail system that's great. So I use the treadmill at an incline, or I find whatever I can out and about that may resemble something like the course. If you don't have the ability to get to trails or something that resembles what your race is going to look like, then do the best you can. The most important runs are going to be those long runs. So if you can, make sure and get the incline or the terrain in the long runs. Moving on to number 3, come up with a recovery plan next to your training plan. What the heck is a recovery plan? It's something I pretty much made up, but it's a way to be really intentional with the time you have not running, so that when you are running, those runs are going to be really effective and benefiting you as a runner. I'm gonna make a different video specifically on this recovery plan idea, but basically it's just to be intentional with your time. So besides eating well after you run, fueling while you run, hydrating and sleeping, you also need to keep in mind that part of the training plan is going to have recovery runs, and you need to take those pretty stinking seriously. A general rule for a recovery run is that it's going to be 2 to 3 minutes slower than your race pace. However, how do you find a race pace? And that leads us to number 4. Get comfortable with pace and power hiking. Your pace in a marathon is probably going to be much faster than your 50K pace. That being said, do not be frightened, worried, or disheartened by a 12-minute to even 20-minute mile. That happens when you're out on the trail trying to cover really difficult terrain or climbing a steep hill or mountain even. Because it can be hard to come up with a race pace. A lot of times the races are going to be uneven. For example, I did the race course of the Franklin Mountains last weekend. The first half of the course was about 16 miles. It took me 4 hours. The second half, again, 16 miles. It took me about 2 hours. So you can see the difference. It's hard to find like a steady pace, whereas in the marathon, you're trying to maintain the same pace mile after mile. Trail running, ultra running, 50K, it's gonna be different. What some people do is run for time instead of pace and kind of base it off of their heart rate or what they're feeling. I currently am striving for a 9 to 10 minute mile race pace. We'll see if I can manage that. It's something that's gonna be kind of fluid, hard to tell. The second end of tip number 4 is power hiking. It may seem weird to walk during a race, but it's very common in ultra running and oftentimes can really be faster. When you learn to power hike really well, whether it's with or without poles, you are able to give yourself a little bit of a break. You use different muscles, and again, you're being more efficient with your body. How do you know when to power hike? Well, when you run out of steam is probably not a good indicator, but as you run uphill and you notice that you're no longer efficient, you're slowing down and you believe you can walk faster, that's probably a good time to switch over to power hiking. Power hiking is going to be a lot of big steps with your poles or push my legs and continue upwards, puffing and puffing. My heart rate usually stays just about the same as I'm walking. The 5th thing I have for you is gear. The gear thing, man, it can span from one water bottle like this to the whole shebang pack with poles, water bottles here. I got my snot rag ready to go, nutrition. I mean, it really depends on what the race is going to look like and what you feel comfortable with when you toe the line. My biggest suggestion here is run with your gear beforehand. I mean, you can even use something as simple as this. For the Bandera 100K, I wore this and I brought 2 of these along. I felt comfortable with the aid stations that were going to be there, and I knew I could carry enough of my own nutrition matched with the aid station nutrition that I could get through a race. Wear your gear beforehand in your training runs so you know what you're going to need. If there's any hot spots here and there, sometimes I'll get one up here. Know where you want your nutrition to go. This is my garbage pack. This is where I keep my goos. You know, this is where the water goes, and so on and so forth. By the way, this is still sweaty from this morning's run. Gross, huh? All right, tip 6, food, nutrition in general. So there are many companies out there, all kinds of different gels and goos and salt tabs and electrolyte packets. Again, this is going to be very specific to you and what works for you. What I've been doing is goo, stroopwafel, goo with caffeine, stroopwafel, another goo. And then about halfway through, I'll do some electrolyte packet in my bottles. Everybody's different. People are different shapes and sizes, and also metabolize food differently. So for me, I need to be taking in 100 to 150 calories every 40 minutes. That's what works for me. For other people, it may be taking in 300 calories every 45 minutes. Depends, and that's something that you are going to have to tailor. And I'll be doing another video that will be very specific on nutrition and how you can figure out your very own nutrition. I've also tried real food, like honey sticks and dates and potato chips. In the first 50K I ran, I ate pretty much everything on the table. Cheesecake bites, potato chips, Nutella, quesadillas, watermelon. Oh, I ate a lot of watermelon. Fig Newtons. Those were like my go-to. Love Fig Newtons, can't eat them anymore. Because I am limited now on what food I can eat, the goo is the easiest thing for me to take down. But that's honestly one of the joys of ultra running, is being able to eat cheesecake bites at a race. It's quite fun. Marathons, a banana here, a goo there, not so much fun, but trail running, it is always a party. So get ready if it's your first one. Tip number 6 on nutrition, I do not want to be passed over. From my experience, I have not eaten enough on races. For a marathon, I usually wouldn't eat anything but the meal I had that morning. You can get away with that, but when you start getting into mileage like a 50K and on, especially a really long 50K that could take you up to 10 hours to finish, you're going to have to eat, and you're going to have to make sure you're on top of your hydration as well. Do not skip this tip. Make sure that you have figured out at least something that you can eat on the trail so that when you get out there, you're prepared and you don't crash. It's amazing the difference food will make in your race. So try different things out during training. That's the time to do it. If it doesn't work, note it down in your running log or somewhere and find something else. And my last and final tip, come close, a little closer, yes. Absolutely, under no circumstance are you allowed to call yourself a slacker or beat yourself up if you do not complete a workout. Or don't you dare think less of yourself if you stayed up late one night, ate 3 square meals of donuts, and didn't stretch after your run. Because at the end of the day, this is supposed to be fun. Life gets in the way of a perfect training plan, a perfect recovery plan, and we can't control it. You gotta roll with the punches, have fun, and enjoy this experience. It's going to be fun. Don't take yourself too seriously. It's trail running. Good luck on your 50K training. I wish you the best of luck on race day. If you like this video, learned something, or just had fun watching, please like it and subscribe to the channel. I post a new video every week. If you have any comments or questions, please put that in the comment section down below. It helps out the whole running community to learn what you do, what works for you, what nutrition works for you, or if you have any questions, not only me, but other people are probably willing to answer your questions too. With that, I will see y'all next week, and happy trails. Fun story, my very first 50K, this is all I brought. The 50K ended up being 38 miles instead of 32, and because me and the guy in front of me were so far ahead, they didn't set up the aid station. So I ran out of water for 12 miles, and I was trying to cry, but I had no tears to cry.